Please introduce your background.
So our mom is from Okinawa, Japan, and our dad is from the States.
My mom is Japanese, so I learned those values. But which side? I would say I'm more Ghanaian than I am Japanese.
So which part of your personality that you think more Brazilian and more Japanese?
I think I categorized myself as more Japanese than Australian since
Can you say something in Japanese and Swedish?
Yeah. こんにちは、アンニです。
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi. So today I'm gonna interview half Japanese. What it's like to live in Japan for half Japanese people. Okay, let's get started. Please introduce your background.
So our mom is from Okinawa, Japan, and our dad is from the States.
My sister was born in Tokyo, but I was born in Okinawa. And then we grew up a little bit in Tokyo, but mostly in Virginia. Right now, I live in Hawaii.
And I'm currently living in Tokyo.
What was it like growing up in the States as half Japanese?
We grew up, me 8 years, and then my sister 6 years in Japan. And then we moved to Virginia. And when we moved to Virginia, we lived in a very diverse area. Our elementary school had Japanese lessons also. So we were really lucky in that when we moved, we didn't really face any hardships.
Okay, so about your household, what was it like?
We speak primarily with our dad in English, and with our mom, I think a lot of us, we try to stay in Japanese as much as possible.
So for you guys, you speak English to each other?
I would say mostly English, unless we want to tell some secrets. Then we're gonna speak Japanese.
Okay. Can you talk in Japanese?
今回はお姉ちゃんが1週間ぐらい東京に来てショッピングしたり遊んだりする予定です。
多分年に2回ぐらいは日本に来ます。沖縄は1年に1回ぐらいは絶対行ってて、今はもう妹が東京に住んでるから東京にも1週間ぐらい遊びに来ることができるから。
So my name is Pelevon Kujovi. I'm Ghanaian Japanese, born in Japan and raised in Ghana. I was in Ghana till 16. Then I went to high school in Costa Rica for 2 years. Then I went to university in the US for 4 years. Then when I was new grad, I moved to Japan for work.
In household, what language do you guys speak?
So with my mother, I speak in Japanese since Ghana. I learned Japanese in Ghana, actually. And then with my dad, I speak in English. With my brother, I speak Pidgin, which is kind of like a Ghanaian colloquial language, mix of English and local language structures and words and stuff.
Which one is your native language?
I grew up speaking all, so I'll say English, Japanese, and Pidgin.
Oh.
If you can call Pidgin a language, it's kind of a language. Like, yeah, I speak all of them, I'd say kind of native.
Okay.
Like, I don't like Japanese, or there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Still, yeah.
But you're working in Japanese company, right?
It's not a Japanese company, but I work in Japanese.
You work in Japanese. Do you find it difficult sometimes, or you don't have problem with that?
Man, I have problems all the time, bro.
Okay.
Like, when I first moved here, first the company said it's English-speaking company. And I went in there, it was a lie, it was Japanese. And I was like,
So when it comes to your personality, do you feel more connected to Japanese culture or American culture or Ghanaian culture? Or?
I mean, I'll say like my core is probably Ghanaian. And a lot of my values are Ghanaian, but also Japanese because my mom is Japanese, so I learned those values. But also I'm interested in doing work between Africa and Asia, like a bridge between is something that I've been interested in. So I was like, I might as well start my journey in Japan.
Can you say something in Japanese and Pidgin?
Yeah, so we day here, you know, I cut my hair today, so now the code is start they catch me inside small, but with the manager I'm small. I just finished my job. It's almost Friday, so you know this weekend there, it means we'll go chill with that. 人生初めてのストリートインタビューを高橋さんと一応やってる形でユニバーサルスタジオ行きたいなって結構思ってますね。ドンキーコングのなんとかができるっていうのをこの間見てなんか行きたいなって1回しか行ったことないの。
ちょっと東京から遠いですもんね。
遠すぎる。そうでも行きたいな。
My name is Anna. I'm 21 years old. My mom is Japanese and my dad is Brazilian. And I lived in LA for a year and now I'm back in Japan.
Okay, so which part of your personality that you think more Brazilian and more Japanese?
My Brazilian part is, I think I'm really social butterfly and I like going out. I like to meet new people. So this is my Brazilian part. And at the same time, I really like to be polite when I see someone for the first time. And I really care about others. So I think this is my Japanese part of my personality.
Can you say something in Portuguese and Japanese?
Oi, meu nome é Ana. Eu tenho 21 anos. Eu nasci e cresci no Japão. 今大学2年生で心理学勉強してます。あと来月韓国行くので超楽しみです。
So I'm Ryuta. I'm half Japanese, half Dutch. So my dad is Dutch and my mom is Japanese. I was born in Tokyo, and when I was 2.5, I moved to the Netherlands stayed there for 15 years and came back to Japan was 17 and a half. So
Can you describe your experience, like growing up in Netherlands? Yeah.
in the Netherlands, there are not a lot of Japanese people in general, especially where I used to live. So I used to live in a pretty small village. So me and my brother were like the only people that were Asian in general in our village. You really stand out as a half Japanese person, even though you're only half. You are considered as a Asian, not really Japanese, just an Asian person. It just made me stand out, which I didn't really like as a kid.
So you speak English, Japanese, and Dutch.
I speak a bit of Japanese. It's mostly Dutch, my first language. I speak English. So my mom is Japanese, but she grew up in Geneva for a big portion of her life. Her English is perfect as well as her Japanese. So I grew up speaking, like kind of mixing Japanese and English with her, mostly English. So my Japanese wasn't that good. It still isn't. And we used to go to Japanese school on Sundays, which I really didn't like, but I still pushed through. And I'm really happy that I did because now I at least know some Japanese, so I try my best.
Can you introduce yourself in Dutch and Japanese?
Ja, I'll try. Dus in Nederlands, heel raar om nu opeens Nederlands te spreken. Maar ik ben 18 jaar, ik ben geboren in Tokio, ben toen naar Nederland verhuisd en ben nu weer terug in Tokio. 長谷川龍太と申します。父はオランダ人で母は日本人のハーフで、ずっとオランダに育ってきて、今東京に住んでます。
I'm half Japanese, a quarter Czech and a quarter Polish, but I was born in Japan and I was raised in Australia. I live in Japan now, but I moved 2 years ago, so it's quite recent still.
So you have multiple backgrounds, right? Like which country has impacted you on your personality or culture and everything?
Probably my Japanese background because my mom raised me really well and she really prioritized manners and that really came from the Japanese culture. But also because I grew up in Australia, I think I have an Australian mindset, so I'm very easygoing and I like to keep things on like the chill and I don't really like too many restrictions. So coming to Japan, I think that was the biggest culture shock with like all the rules and like everything has to be a certain way. So I really like the mindset of thinking outside the box that Australia gave me.
What about Czech and Poland?
Unfortunately, I've never been to Czech and Poland, but I think my dad kind of distilled those family-oriented values from Czech and Polish culture. So I think that was kind of what shaped me.
Can you say something in Japanese?
Yeah. 日置ベルです。私20歳なんですけど、東京に来てモデル活躍してます。あと大学生です。東京にいます。もうこれから多分ずっと東京で頑張っていきたいと思います。
So my dad is Spanish and my mom is Japanese, and I was born and raised in Spain, Barcelona. And I came to Japan, Kobe, when I was in middle school, and then I moved to Tokyo this April.
Because you're half Japanese, half Spanish, you speak Japanese, Spanish, and also English.
Yeah, and I also speak Catalan. Barcelona is in Catalonia. In Catalonia, the first language is Catalan. Because I went to a local Spanish school, all my classes were in Spanish or in Catalan, and then we had some English classes. And about Japanese, my mom always spoke to me in Japanese, like only Japanese. She would never speak to me in Spanish.
So you don't have problems living in Japan because of your language?
Yeah, I don't really have any problem right now.
Which one do you think is comfortable when you think, yeah?
Maybe Spanish? Yeah.
Spanish?
Yeah.
Generally?
Yeah, generally in Spanish, sometimes in Japanese. And when it comes to work, in Japanese, of course. Because my work is in Japanese and all the papers I read, all the mails I read are in Japanese, so I tend to think in Japanese, yeah.
Can you say something in Japanese and Spanish?
Okay, I'm first in Japanese and then in Spanish. こんにちは。美咲です。日本のハーフで今東京で働いてます。Hola a todos, mi nombre es Misaki. Nací en España, Barcelona, pero ahora mismo vivo en Tokio, Japón. Estoy siendo entrevistada por Takashi.
I don't know what you're saying, but thank you, yeah.
Okay, my name is Taki. I'm half Japanese, half Peruvian. I was born and raised in Japan, and I used to live in Peru for 1 year.
Is there any personality you think more Japanese, you think more like Peruvian?
Okay, so when I speak with Japanese people, like I feel like more Japanese, like, you know, like はじめまして、こんにちは, like keigo, I always use, and then, you know, like I have to like bow something. But when I drink with my friends, like izakaya or like nightclub, I feel like, you know, I also have like Latin blood, so I feel like more Latino. I like to dance like reggaeton, something like this. Yeah, so I feel like I have two personalities.
Why did you go to Peru for 1 year?
When I meet new people, they always ask me like, have you ever been to Peru? But never been to Peru. I don't speak Spanish, so I had frustration. So yeah, I decided to go 1 year. So I experienced like their culture and then
How was it?
yeah, it was great time. Like at first, the beginning, like I couldn't speak Spanish, so I couldn't communicate with my like cousin or like with my grandparents. But little by little, I spoke like Spanish, and I made friends. And then we went to the club or like going to the park after the school. And then yeah, I had really nice experience. And also I went to like many like Latin countries. So I really appreciate that I'm half Japanese and half Peruvian. If I was like a full Japanese, I think like I would never go to the South America. Yeah.
Okay, so could you introduce yourself in Japanese and Spanish?
これは日本人のこの性格パーソナリティ。はじめまして、滝と申します。日本人とペルーのハーフです。東京に住んでます。Hola, ¿cómo estás? Mi nombre es Taki. Soy mitad japonés y peruano. A mí me encanta el reggaetón, me encanta bailar y así que sí. Ya, muchas gracias por la entrevista.
Please introduce your background.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Annie and I'm half Swedish and Japanese, and I grew up both in Sweden and Japan, and now I have been living in Japan for 5 years.
Japan, Sweden, any like similarity or differences?
I think there's actually a lot of similarities. For example, like people, I think we kind of have a distance between each other, and it takes maybe a little bit more of a time to get to know each other and open up to each other. Differences? I would say Swedish people are, or at least me, I'm more like direct when I go to Sweden, so I can say no pretty quickly. But here in Japan, it's kind of, we have to go around and say like, ちょっとできないですみたいな感じ.
なるほど.
Yeah.
So you speak English, Swedish, and Japanese, right?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up. Both my parents, they could Japanese, Swedish, and English, and also Finnish. So I kind of grew up like talking in all the languages, whatever is like comfortable. So I mixed everything.
Then what's your first language?
My first language is Swedish and Japanese, but because I work in English now, it's kind of like English and Japanese is the same level right now.
Can you say something in Japanese and Swedish?
Yeah. こんにちは、アンニです。今5年間日本に住んでいて、モデルとダンサーをやっています。Hej allihopa, jag hoppas att alla kan komma till Tokyo och det finns jättemycket intressanta grejer här och mycket fint. Så jag hoppas att ni kan komma hit.
Planning a trip, especially to a place like Japan, takes forever. Comparing flights, finding the good hotels, then you need to figure out what to do in Japan. Shrines, the Shinkansen tickets, cat cafes, the options are endless. And then you need to start buying tickets for everything. And of course, you want to find the cheapest ticket possible. Plus, most of the websites to buy tickets are in Japanese and not English friendly. So, to avoid all that hassle, I recommend you use Klook. Klook is a travel booking platform with thousands of activities and experiences all over the world, such as Shinkansen ticket, Universal Studios Japan, Disney, etc. And they're running a Black Friday sale now. From November 27th to December 5th, you can get up to 25% discount on hundreds of Klook tours across Japan and many other countries. And if you use my code Takashi, you can get a 10% discount on top of the Black Friday sale. So you can get around 35% discount on the majority of tickets. That's crazy. Check the link in the description for more info. Thank you for your time. Can you introduce your background?
I'm Christy. I was born and raised in Japan. My father is from America, New York. Then my mom's from Nara, Japan. People see me as a really foreigner and people recognize me as America. I could say, yeah, but my identity is full Japanese. So I was so confused when I was really young. I was struggling to have dual culture, Japan and America. My identity is here, but my face and my race and my blood is over there, right? I'm still figuring out. The reason why I learned English is my grandma. I couldn't communicate with her anything. I put my father between us. Then he translated her English. Then he to Japanese, and I told he Japanese and translated her. That's really sad, right? Yeah, that's the biggest reason why.
Can you introduce yourself in Japanese?
私はクリスティって言うんですけど、宮崎で育って幼稚園だけちょっと向こうにいたんですけど、ほとんど日本語の状態で日本に帰ってきて、で英語も喋らずに育ってきて、っていうので海外に行こうと思って海外に行き始めて英語を勉強するようになりました。
Hello everyone, my name's Kyan, I'm 19, I'm half Japanese and half Australian. My mother is Japanese and my father is Australian, and I was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia.
What was it like growing up in Australia as half Japanese?
Definitely, I think I categorized myself as more Japanese than Australian since my brother and I were raised in a very Japanese household. We had Japanese magazines, Japanese TV. We also went to a Japanese primary school for 5 times a week, and in high school we went once a week. So we did really see ourselves as Japanese.
You speak both Japanese and English, right?
Yes, I do. I don't think there is a really native language since I was brought and raised with both 2 languages. I only spoke Japanese with my mum when I was younger and only English with my dad, but I actually have a twin brother too, so we mix Japanese and English quite a lot. Like when I only spoke Japanese with my mum, I'm definitely more fluent now, so I definitely appreciate it now that I can speak Japanese really fluently and understand it, because if I didn't speak it when I was younger, I don't think living in Japan would be an option. So
How's your life in Japan in general? Like, can you say in Japanese?
すごい日本で暮らしてて楽しくて、やっぱり洋服のブランドがオーストラリアよりも多いので買い物ももっと楽しかったり。
オーストラリア時差ないからいいね。フライト長いけど。
そうなんですよ。10時間ぐらいのフライトなんですけど、時差今2時間しかなくて、でも基本1時間です。
なるほど。オーストラリアにしかなくて日本にないなんか What's something you miss about Australia とかなんかあります？
オーストラリアだともっと自然が多いイメージで、やっぱり東京で過ごしてると海がなかったり緑がなかったりすることが多いので、オーストラリアの方が空広く感じますね。ビルもそんなに日本ほど渋谷ほど建ってないのでって感じです。
なるほどなるほど。
Hi, I'm Aju. My mom is Japanese. My dad is Bahamian. I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan. I've lived in Paris and South Florida and LA before. Currently, I live in Tokyo.
Growing up in Tokyo, Japan, what was it like for you?
Yes, I just went to regular public school. Mostly, I spoke Japanese. I couldn't speak English well until late teenage.
So with your dad, how did you communicate in Japanese?
I didn't have like really good relationship with my dad. So like I could listen what he was saying, but we didn't have like good communicating while I was growing up. So like I couldn't really express in English.
So you feel more connected with your Japanese mom, basically, in Japanese culture?
All my life, I've been connecting super well with my mom. Japanese culture, I'm not sure.
How come? But you're born and raised in Japan. You didn't go to international school, right? Everything was in Japanese.
Yes, but still, I feel like my vibe was a bit different from like most Japanese people. I started to like communicate with my cousin. She's like my dad's side and she lives in America. So since then, I'm more like connected to international people.
Can you say something in Japanese, like which is your native language?
Aju です。DJ やってます。DJ ネームはあじゅちゃんです。
あじゅちゃん。
ちゃんが好き。
可愛いですね、それは。あじゅちゃん。
ありがとうございます。なんかちゃん可愛くないですか？そこはなんか日本のすごい好きなとこ。
なるほど。
英語だと表現ができないちゃんみたいな。
So my name is Johannes. I'm half Japanese, half Austrian. So I was born in Japan, grew up in Austria, lived in Germany for a while, and now I'm back in Japan since about 6 years.
Any personality that you think you're more Japanese or you think more Australian?
People nowadays, they tell me I've become a bit more Japanese, but I'm clearly more Western. So I grew up in Austria, so I am expressive. And when I came to Japan, I was in a positive way, but also aggressive. So I had to adjust to Japanese culture so that they're not scared of me.
Since you're from Australia, you speak English, German, and Japanese, right? Like, how did you become multilingual?
I was forced to be multilingual because my mom speaks Japanese. She speaks like Kansai dialect, right? My father speaks Austrian. They like had to speak English in the beginning together because my mother still had to learn German.
Yes.
So they were like speaking English together. So I kind of grew up trilingual. So I was lucky in that sense.
Can you say something in Japanese and German?
皆さん、お疲れ様です。ヨハネスです。兵庫生まれで、ドイツ育ち、オーストリアドイツ育ちで、今また、日本にいるので、ja, und ich mache gerade ein Interview hier mit Takashi und wir sind in Shibuya und es ist ziemlich kalt geworden, aber wir haben Spaß auf jeden Fall, ne?
My mom is Japanese. Oh, my dad is Indian. My mom's from Osaka and my dad's from Mumbai, and I was born and raised in Japan my whole life.
Okay, so what was it like growing up in Japan as half Japanese?
As you can see, I look fully Indian, but then my inside is 100% Japanese. But in Japan, they ask you for your zairyu kado, your identification card. And sometimes when I speak to them in Japanese, they answer back in English, which is really complicated and really weird. But I think many of you guys experience if you're half some other country and half Japanese.
How many times have you been to India?
4 times, Delhi and Mumbai. Because I recently got married to an Indian person, I went to India for marriage for about a month, and it was really long. But as you can tell, India has a really long wedding compared to Japan, so it was a really good experience. Because my father talked to me in Osaka language, I wasn't really close to Indian culture or Indian language. But because I got married to this person, now I feel really close, and I'm starting to study Hindi lessons too.
Could you introduce yourself in Hindi and Japanese?
In Hindi, Namaste, mera naam Tina hai, aap kaise ho? 日本語はパンディティナと申します。お元気ですか？私は日本に29年住んでいます。
My name is Leo, and she is Lena, my sister. My father is from Azerbaijan. My mother is Japanese, and I grew up in Tokyo.
日本で育つのはどういう経験をしてきました？
小さい頃はアゼルバイジャン知ってる人ほとんどいないんで説明が結構難しかったですね。
2つの文化を得られたっていうところはポジティブかなとは思うんですけど、アイデンティティとして日本にも属さない、アゼルバイジャンにも属さない、いじめられたりとかそういうのはよくありました。
どの言語を話しますか？
僕は日本語とあと1年間オーストラリアに行ってたので英語があとアゼルバイジャン語父から教わってるのでちょっとだけ喋れます。
子供の頃の方が話せて父どんどん日本語が上手になっていくので日本語が多くておじいちゃんおばあちゃんと会って話すときはアゼルバイジャン語っていうのをよくやってたんですけど行き来が少なくなったら話せなくなっちゃいます。
じゃあアゼルバイジャン語なんか話してもらっても大丈夫ですか？
サラムドスラマニマダムレオオーレナドゥアタムギュネアゼルバイジャンダンドゥアナムジャポンドゥアゼルバイジャンシャラブバチャイサトラム。
Hi, my name is Sari. I'm a half Filipina and my mom is a Filipina and my dad is Japanese. And I've been living in Japan the whole time, but I've traveled sometimes in the Philippines.
What was it like your household?
When I speak with my mom, it's English, and when I have a brother, and when I speak with my brother both, and when dad comes in, it becomes Japanese.
Do you think you can live in Philippines in the future? Your roots?
Yeah, I think so. I've just visited Cebu, but I really like the weather. I think the people are really warm in the Philippines because even if you don't know that person well or you're not gonna meet that person after that, they're still so kind and they like if there's some kind of problem happening, they care like it's their problem.
Do you speak Tagalog?
I'm studying. When I went to Cebu, I thought I want to communicate with them more, so I'm studying now. I only can say my shoes are broken.
How do you say?
Sidaan sapatos ko. When I visited to Cebu, I wanted a new shoes because mine was broken when I was little. So I remembered that and I said that to my parents a lot. Yeah.
Can you say something in Japanese then? Your native language, right?
Yes. こんにちは。サリです。フィリピンと日本のハーフで最近大学卒業しました。
My mom is Japanese from Osaka and my dad's American from Arkansas. I was born and raised in Japan, yes.
Do you think you have more Japanese personality or American personality?
I kind of have two personalities when I'm speaking English and Japanese, so I won't say I'm like which of which. So when I speak in English, I'm more casual American, but when I'm speaking in Japanese, you'll see me act like a Japanese person.
Do you know which one do you like more?
Able to talk in English might be more of me because I can express what I can say.
Yourself.
Yeah, I can say things straightforward to things, you know. For a Japanese, I have to think of my way through to actually be like polite and like, you know, try not to offend the other person, yeah.
So you speak Osaka dialect?
Yes.
Okay.
Kansai ben desu.
Okay, so could you introduce yourself in Japanese?
モーリスと申します。僕はアメリカと日本のハーフです。今ちょうど友達とみんなで東京来てるんですけど、でも大阪出身なんでいつでも大阪弁は喋ってます。
東京より大阪の方が好きですか？
遊びに来るのは好きですけど、ホームは大阪ですね。
Okay, thank you for watching so far. How was it? That was interesting. I'm also planning to upload a video interviewing ethnically not Japanese but born raised in Japan. For example, some of their parents both are American but born raised in Japan, something like that. So when I upload it, please check it out. Okay, anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, click like button. Please subscribe to my channel. If you have any question you want me to ask people in Japan, please leave a comment too. See you next time.